So, you're thinking about buying gold, huh? Because right now, it just hit over $4,000 an ounce, and every expert on the internet swears it's only going higher. Sure, they said the same thing in 1980, right before half the planet went broke in matching panic. Look, gold doesn't earn interest, doesn't pay dividends, doesn't produce anything. What it does best is make smart people lose IQ points the moment it shines. Back then, folks sold their houses, pawned their futures, and called it investing. The newspapers called it the Golden Age. I call it humanity's favorite group project in financial delusion. Ever thought gold never crashes? Congrats! You've joined the oldest religion on earth, the Church of Shiny Things and Short Memories. Picture this: New York, 1980. It's freezing outside, but everyone's sweating bullets. Not because of the weather, because gold just hit $850 an ounce, a price so high even greed had altitude sickness. People lined up in the snow, waving cash like confetti. Housewives, bankers, cab drivers, all convinced they'd found the stairway to heaven, except it was actually an escalator going down. The media called it the Great Gold Rush. I call it group therapy for economic anxiety. You see, 9 years earlier, the U.S. said, "Hey world, remember when dollars were backed by gold?" Yeah, about that, not anymore. That's right, Nixon unchained the dollar from gold, and humanity entered a new game. Trust the paper, not the metal. Spoiler alert, nobody trusted the paper. Everyone hoarded the metal, because nothing says stability like digging shiny rocks out of the ground and hiding them in your closet. Beat. Pause. Fast forward to today, same play, but different actors. Only this time, the lines are delivered on TikTok. Remember 1980? Inflation was chewing paychecks like a paper shredder. Oil prices exploding. Confidence in paper money sub-zero. So, what did people do? They sprinted into gold at $850 per ounce like it was Noah's Ark. Safety, they said. Hedge, they said. Paradox, the safe asset became the riskiest party in town. The more people tried to protect themselves, the more they inflated the bubble that would later eat them alive. That's the joke. A bad one. Let's be honest, most folks weren't hedging. They were time traveling, buying a future where they'd be genius millionaires because gold always goes up. Heard that line before? Of course you have. It's on repeat every decade. The market psychology was textbook. Fear of currency, people run to a story they can hold in their hands. Price momentum, the story becomes a cult. Cult membership perks, immunity to facts. Lesson: when a hedge becomes a craze, it stops hedging. It starts hunting. Guess who eats first? Rhetorical question. Anyone here ever bought safety at the exact moment it became dangerous? Yeah, don't be shy. The Hunt Brothers. How to corner a market and get cornered by reality. Two oil billionaires decide silver is their destiny. They buy, then borrow to buy more, then use what they bought as collateral to buy more. Genius, until it isn't. Price rockets, the world gasps, regulators sweat, exchanges tighten rules, margins rise, liquidity vanishes. Suddenly, the staircase to heaven becomes a greased slide straight into a Thursday nobody forgets. Silver crashes, margin calls scream, the brothers learn the oldest law of markets: you can corner supply, but you can't corner panic. Paradox: they tried to manufacture scarcity in a commodity while leveraging abundance of credit. When credit tightens, your scarcity dissolves faster than ice in Texas. Deeper point: leverage isn't evil. Narrative plus leverage plus crowd is. It creates an echo chamber where every tick up confirms brilliance, and every tick down demands more collateral than your ego can provide. Lesson: if your strategy only works while rules never change and liquidity never dries up, it's not a strategy. It's a prayer. Question for the congregation. Ever feel invincible because your broker lets you click 2x, 5x, why not 10x? Bless your heart. Inflation didn't come to negotiate, so the Fed didn't either. Rates north of 20%. Borrowing froze. Asset prices sobered up. Gold went from spiritual savior to heavy doorstop. The same crowds that swore this time is different discovered math still exists. Paradox. The stronger the dollar, the weaker the gold narrative. Because the safe haven people bought to escape paper money loses its halo when that paper suddenly pays you real yield. Funny how faith follows interest. This is where the adult lesson lives. When real rates, not fairy tale nominal ones, go up, the cost of holding non-yielding stuff bites. When the policy regime flips, the story flips with it. When liquidity is your oxygen, rate hikes are the plastic bag. Yes, the medicine was brutal: recession, bankruptcies, unemployment punching double digits. But the sickness was worse: a belief that prices only go one way because our feelings said so. Markets don't care about feelings. They barely care about facts. They care about cash flows, constraints, and the guy with the rate lever. Lesson: macro breaks narratives. If your thesis can't survive a policy shift, you didn't have a thesis. You had a bedtime story with a ticker. You'd think after 40 years we'd learn something. But no, humans don't learn from history. We just wait long enough to repeat it with better Wi-Fi. Right now, gold is flying high. Over $4,000 an ounce, headlines screaming, "New record!" And you can practically smell the fear disguised as confidence. People say they're hedging against inflation. Sure, that's like drinking whiskey for the antioxidants. Let's call it what it is: financial cosplay. Everyone wants to look smart while doing the exact same dumb thing their grandparents did with rotary phones and bad mustaches. The religion of belief, now with more apps. See, in 1980, people worshipped gold. In 2025, we've diversified our gods: the Fed, Bitcoin, ETFs, and the cult of passive income. The altar's digital now, but the prayers haven't changed. Please let me be early, not late. We've turned faith into a portfolio strategy. Gold isn't a metal anymore. It's a mood. When the world feels stable, it's boring. When the world feels scary, it's suddenly divine. Same rock, different panic. And the irony? Everyone says, "I don't trust fiat money," while happily refreshing their digital trading app powered by the same fiat system. That's like saying, you don't believe in gravity, but still wear a seatbelt. 2. The dollar's revenge. Back in the Volcker days, high rates crushed gold and humbled everyone who thought money printing meant infinite wealth. Now the Fed only has to sneeze and half the market gets vertigo. People shout, "The dollar is doomed," yet they still measure gold in dollars. Cute, right? We live in a global loop where everyone bets against the U.S. currency using U.S. currency. It's not finance, it's performance art. Gold goes up when trust goes down, but trust is like oxygen, invisible until you're gasping for it. The moment the Fed tightens policy again, people will rediscover their love for interest-bearing paper faster than you can say rate hike. 3. The safe haven that never is. Fast forward to today. Gold breaking records, crypto making comebacks, influencers calling themselves macro experts because they can spell CPI, and everyone screaming the same phrase: "This time is different." Spoiler, it never is. Every market bubble wears the same mask: new paradigm, digital revolution, next generation asset. Underneath, same sweaty fear that your cash is trash and your neighbor's getting richer faster. We say we want safety, but we chase excitement. We call it diversification, but it's just fear in a tuxedo. So, yes, history repeats, but not as tragedy or farce. It repeats as a well-edited YouTube ad for financial freedom. We've evolved from lining up at gold shops to lining up for dopamine hits. The difference? Back then, they lost cash. Now, they lose both, cash and time. History doesn't punish greed, it just invoices it later. The world thought it learned from 1980. Turns out it just changed costumes. Back then, people stood in line for gold bars. Now they stand in line for crypto, NFTs, and courses promising to beat inflation in 30 days or your ego back. Everyone's still chasing the same dragon, just now it's wearing a blockchain. Here's the punchline. Every time humans panic, they look for a savior. Sometimes it's gold, sometimes it's a coin with a dog on it. Sometimes it's Jerome Powell whispering sweet nothings about rate cuts. But the pattern's always the same. Fear turns to hype, hype turns to bubbles, and bubbles always pop louder than our excuses. So when you hear, "This time is different," remember, it always is, right up until it isn't. So here we are, 4 decades, 3 crises, and 1 endless loop later. Gold's back on the throne, the dollar's still printing cents, and everyone swears they're the smart money this time. But let's be honest, every generation thinks it's different until the chart looks familiar. We rename greed as strategy, fear as risk management, and gambling as portfolio diversification. Sounds fancy, still dumb. The truth is, no asset is safe. Not gold, not crypto, not even the mattress you hide cash under. Because the real danger isn't inflation or policy, it's our addiction to certainty. We can't stand not knowing, so we buy whatever promises to make the future predictable. Spoiler, it never does. In finance, there are only 2 emotions, fear and regret. Everything else is marketing. Life's simple. Every time we think we've outsmarted the market sends a bill with interest. And remember, the more righteous people sound when talking about money, the funnier they look when it's gone. Because life's like finance. The more we pretend to be moral, the more entertaining the scandals get. Subscribe or don't. Maybe next time you'll be rich enough to ignore advice like this.